Hi, Paul. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. How are you?
Very well, thank you. So,
Excellent.
Paul, you've got an amazing company called Nirvana, and you supply supplements. And you're an expert in natural health and all things health, well-being, growing your own food, as well as a bit of a history buff with your Esoteric Explorers channel. So today we're going to be talking about supplements.
Yes,
And
brilliant.
yeah, and we
I can
said
do
we
that.
might talk about what you think are your top 5 supplements, generally speaking. So last time we spoke, we were talking about how basically the world we're in is a bit rubbish now, modern farming practices and all that kind of stuff. So we need to supplement our diets because we're not getting it from the food, even if we're lucky enough to get it fresh. So this is where the supplements come in. And so, Paul, what would you say would be amongst your top 5 supplements?
Well, there are lots of top 5, top 10 supplements out there on YouTube. And I don't tend to watch them very much, to be honest with you, because we're all different. However, I've given this a lot of thought. So I've selected 4 supplements that I think pretty much everyone will benefit from. And I've also selected another supplement that I've recently started taking myself, and I've been very impressed with the results. So, where shall we start?
Well, you can start. You can start with the one you've been taking yourself, maybe.
Okay, so the new one I've been taking is something called creatine monohydrate. So that is what they call a short chain amino acid. So it's made up of 3 amino acids. Let me see if I can remember which ones they are. L-arginine, glycine, and L-methionine. So now creatine is very famous amongst weightlifters and bodybuilders, people that go to the gym and want to build muscle. But it's also extremely good for your brain, it turns out, and it's being studied a lot at the moment. So it's being recommended for people of a certain age that might be more likely to get things or develop things like neurological disorders like Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, dementia, all that sort of stuff. It's been shown to reduce the possibility of that happening. From my perspective, it's been really good because I work very long hours, do a lot of things, as you know. So sometimes a little bit of brain fog can creep in. But I've noticed that it's been really good for my short-term memory. My short-term memory has like massively improved since I've started taking it. So it's clearly good for the brain. And it's one of those supplements that is cheap to buy. It's very inexpensive. I think 90 of our capsules will cost you 12 quid or something like that. But it ticks so many boxes. So from that perspective, it's really, really good. It's good for people with depression, diabetes, MS, fibromyalgia. Lots and lots of different benefits on that one. So if you're looking for a new supplement to take, you haven't tried it before, I would highly recommend creatine monohydrate.
I'm really glad to hear you say that, because the weird thing is, yesterday, just by chance, I got myself a box of creatine. I was actually just in the supermarket and my mind went blank. I had no idea what I needed. And I just happened to see this and I was like, yeah, I'll try it. And the reason I decided to try it, I kind of only knew vaguely about it, is because 2 of my boys are really into going to the gym and, weightlifting and all that. So they've been telling me about it. Now, I'm unlikely to, do any heavy weightlifting, but I just reckoned, well, why not? I'll give it a try. So I'm really impressed. So now my memory is going to improve, right?
Well, hopefully. I mean, do you have any memory issues at all?
Only when I go to the supermarket and I can't remember what to buy. Actually, that is actually like a self-fulfilling prophecy, isn't it? Like, this is like, I go to the supermarket, forget what I need, buy the stuff from my memory. It's fantastic. So what exactly is it? It's to do with protein and milk, right? I don't exactly know.
There's, as I say, there's 3 amino acids chained together. Basically, that's what creatine is. So
Yeah.
L-arginine, L-methionine, and I think it's glycine is the other one. So there's 3 amino acids, and amino acids, proteins are very good for people that want to build muscle.
Yeah,
It's also very good at repairing muscle as well. So they're very good if you've been working out or whatever, and in your recovery, they really help with that as well. So, but as I
amazing.
say, there are so many benefits, and it's
Yeah.
very inexpensive. So it's a really good thing to take.
That's fantastic. Well, I'm really glad I'm going to start on that then in that case. And so you reckon it's good for all ages? So obviously teenagers would be into this for the muscle building probably, but older people would be maybe benefiting for other reasons. So across the range.
I think so. Yeah, I think old people, as I say, it's very good for preventative reasons with neurological disorders. It's very good for the brain, short-term memory, as I've said. But yeah, people of all ages will benefit from it, definitely.
Mm-hmm. And so what about the other supplements that you decided to talk about? So are they things that would be across the board or for particular age groups or particular like profiles?
I think so. I think the other 4 really are for pretty much everyone, you know. So I started with the new one. So I'll start with what I think is the most obvious one, the one that everyone should be taking, and that is magnesium.
I knew you were going to say that.
Yeah, well, magnesium isn't in the soil anymore. You know, it's not in our vegetables as it used to be in our leafy greens. And we've talked about that in our previous video, why intensive industrial farming has basically taken out a lot of the nutrients from the soil.
Yeah.
And magnesium is so important for human health. It's crazy. It's the master mineral. It's the most important mineral for human health. And the great thing about it is if you have enough of it in your system, you will feel good. You will feel relaxed. You'll feel calm and you'll feel focused. The difference is like night and day, as far as I'm concerned. I mean, we make a blend at Nutrient Nirvana. So there are 4 different types of magnesium in one capsule: bisglycinate, citrate, taurate, and what's the other one, Paul?
L-threonate.
Malate. Did I say malate? Malate is the other one. So we sell L-threonate separately, incidentally. That's really good for crossing the blood-brain barrier. But the magnesium blend is really important. I take a minimum of 2 twice a day after food. But if I'm feeling stressed or anxious, I've got a really busy day at work or something, or I'm having to give a talk, then I will take more, because the great thing about magnesium, one of the great things, is you can't overdose.
You can't overdose, right?
If your body is holding too much, you'll simply have to run for the toilet, and that is the worst thing that can happen. So, some people, when they first start taking magnesium, will either try and meet that threshold to get their levels up as quickly as possible, and then start to reduce the dose. It's entirely up to you what you do. But I take a minimum of 4 a day. And as I say, I used to wake up in the middle of the night with leg cramps in my calf muscles. And it used to be quite embarrassing, because the pain used to make me scream like a little girl, to be quite honest. And that's never good. So they were excruciating. But also people with like restless leg syndrome, sleep apnea, hiccups, heart arrhythmia. There are so many signs of a magnesium deficiency now.
Yeah.
So yeah, go on.
And that will be across the board. Like this is for all age groups.
Absolutely, we all need magnesium, and lots of it as well. It's twinned with the mineral calcium, and calcium is very easy to get from food. You get it from meat, dairy, vegetables, pretty much all food groups. But that's not the case with magnesium. So now I find that most people are holding too much calcium and not enough magnesium. Well, calcium helps your muscles to contract, and magnesium helps everything to relax.
Right.
And right now, there's an epidemic of arthritic conditions out there.
Right.
And I suggest, I'm not a scientist, but I would suggest that that's probably one of the main reasons why.
People aren't taking enough calcium.
No, people have got too much calcium.
Too much calcium. Oh, I see. So it's calcifying, literally.
Yes, exactly right. So, and magnesium deals with that, you know.
Yeah. Okay. So
Magne-
it's a good counterbalance to the
yes,
calcium.
yes, exactly
Okay,
right.
that's really good. So
Yeah.
because you need the calcium, right? Especially women
Hmm.
after the menopause, because I know several people, two ladies in my family actually, who've had cracked vertebrae just from bending forward, and this is basically from weak bones, and this can happen to, well, it's often women, isn't it? Older women, and your bones get a little bit fragile and brittle, so they're always told to take calcium. But then I'm not sure if they know then about counteracting that with the
No,
magnesium.
I don't think very few, if any, people actually need a calcium supplement
Hmm.
because it's so easy to get from food. And
Okay, that's interesting.
yeah, our bones actually need 12 minerals, not just calcium.
Yeah.
So you know, again, I'm not telling anyone what to do. Disclaimer: I'm not a doctor. I just own a health company. But from what I've observed, there's very few problems with trying to get enough calcium from the diet. Magnesium is the complete opposite story.
Hmm.
I don't know if I mentioned Jeremy Clarkson in our last
You
conversation
did
together.
with the magnesium in the soil. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'll just briefly go over that as well because it's a good example
Yeah,
of
yeah,
what I'm
yeah,
talking
do. Because
about.
basically he has a program on TV, which I
Yeah.
haven't seen actually, but you.
Clarkson's fun. I actually like it. I know Jeremy Clarkson is a very divisive character, but I actually like it because it highlights the real difficulties of being a farmer in the modern day. So anyway, so
Mm.
Clarkson had his soil tested for nutrients.
Yeah.
He wanted to see how healthy his soil was, and when he got the results back, it turned out that he had zero magnesium in his soil, which means that all his customers that were buying his vegetables were getting zero magnesium, which is absolutely catastrophic.
Yeah.
So what he's done now is employed two regenerative farmers to get the
Mm.
magnesium back into his soil with, I believe it's Epsom salts that they're using. And Epsom salts is another great source of magnesium, by the way. If you want to have a magnesium bath, you can use Epsom salts or Dead Sea salts or magnesium chloride flakes. So yeah, so I think what we saw at Clarkson's farm is a pretty good indication of just the state of things with
Yeah.
our soils at the moment.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's what we were talking about the last time, that the really sorry state of nature, really, well, especially when it comes to food, that the nutrients aren't there, and then we have to do something about it because the
Mm.
food that we're eating just doesn't have enough to give us the basics, right? And
No, I'm afraid not. And I mean, I'm somebody that grows my own food.
yeah.
I'm not self-sufficient, but I do, grow a lot of my own vegetables, fruit, berry, etc. And even I find that if I don't take magnesium, the cramps will come back in my legs. So, I think it's pretty universal now, the problem with magnesium or the lack of
Hmm.
magnesium in the
Yeah.
soil.
Yeah. And so what goes well with magnesium? Say if you were to take magnesium, obviously just to counterbalance the lack of magnesium in the food, that's one thing. But is there anything that helps you absorb it, or that just goes well, or it's good to counteract other than calcium?
I'm trying to think. I know you need magnesium, enough magnesium in your body to be able to synthesize vitamin D from the sun.
Uh-huh.
So I would suggest now that 80 to 90% of people are magnesium deficient. So even if they're trying to get vitamin D from the sun, it's going to be tricky for them because magnesium is a very important part of that process,
Hmm.
as is, and I don't want to be too controversial here, but as is cholesterol. So you cannot synthesize vitamin D unless you've got enough cholesterol in your system.
Hmm.
And there are people now that are taking certain drugs, anti-cholesterol drugs,
Hmm.
and I think that that's not a very wise move, if you ask me.
Even if you have a history of heart trouble or something like that.
Well, we're getting into very scientific areas now, but I do know that cholesterol helps to repair ventricles in the heart. It does a lot of repair jobs and
Yeah.
stuff. And I mean, that's a whole nother video on its own, cholesterol. But basically, I would suggest that we've been lied to about cholesterol. mainly for the reasons of money and profit.
Mm-hmm.
It's not black and white. Cholesterol isn't bad for us, you know.
Mm-hmm.
We need cholesterol from the diet.
Yeah.
And if we're taking anti-cholesterol drugs, then they are prohibiting the liver from producing cholesterol naturally. And the body doesn't see, the body isn't into self-sabotage. It really isn't. The body is an amazing thing.
I'm really glad to hear
That
that.
always knows what to do for the best. So I would always bear that in mind, you know, when you're I don't want to get you in trouble, but so we, you know, but I'm just saying that cholesterol isn't necessarily as bad as they say.
Fair enough. So that's it. So we've had creatine, we've had magnesium.
Yep.
What else do you think would be a good idea to take?
The other three I've chosen, let's go with iodine. So Lugol's iodine is a massively underrated mineral. It's been used for hundreds of years by doctors, not so much nowadays, unfortunately, but I've got lots of old folk medicine books where doctors write about, you know, what they were using and prescribing at the time for people. And iodine was used all the time. And if you go back more than 150 years ago, doctors were prescribing iodine in milligrams rather than micrograms. So there's a lot of conjecture, not conjecture, there's a lot of spin, I'll say, out there where people are saying that iodine, oh, it's very dangerous, you mustn't, oh no, blah, blah, blah. Whereas, you know, if you look at Japan and the Japanese, they eat a lot of iodine-rich foods like sushi, seaweed with every meal virtually. And not only have they got the lowest, I think one of the lowest rates of breast cancer in Japan, but there isn't actually a direct translation of the word menopause in Japan. Now, that's not to say that the Japanese women don't experience a change. They do, but the symptoms that women suffer with in the West are hardly seen in Japan. And that's because they're eating lots of iodine-rich foods. Iodine powers up the thyroid, and the thyroid is in control of so many things in the body. I'm still learning about the thyroid, but one of the things that the thyroid is responsible for in the body is body temperature. So if you're experiencing all these flushes and fluctuations with temperature, you know, the chances are, well, most people are deficient now in iodine, unless, interestingly, you're living by the coast. If you're living by the coast, then you're probably breathing in iodine from the sea, from the ocean.
Oh, that's good to know, because I'm living by the coast, and I actually gathered a handful of seaweed the other day and popped it in the bathtub. It's great. Yeah, it's great to have that sense of the sea air doing good. So if it's connected to something like that, that's good. Where does it with iodine is to do with salt, right?
No, it's actually a mixture of two minerals, potassium iodide, and we make that with iodine crystals.
Right.
So it's actually a product that we make as such. They used to put iodine in table salt many years
That's why I
ago.
associate it with salt. So it's not actually
Yes.
normally in the salt.
No,
Right.
no. Yeah. So just going back to seaweed, by the way, it's fantastic for your skin. So when you had seaweed in the bath the other day, that's really good for your skin. So I didn't know it was legal to do that.
You know, but it's good. It's good. I thought it was good. It's like it's something natural and it's beneficial, you know.
Exactly.
But definitely seaweed. I mean, I think everyone kind of knows seaweed's good for you, but it's not easy to get seaweed products, and of course we associate it with Japan, and Japan. Everyone associates Japan with getting it, like really having it sussed when it comes to health. I mean, they just
That's very true.
best habits. They live long lives. Probably with the exception of mental health in Japan, but otherwise we associate Japan with really amazing
Longevity. Yeah.
Longevity and wellness. So anything that they do probably is a good idea, right?
Yeah. They do actually really care about their people in Japan.
And so if we were to get iodine from a natural source, so seaweed would be one of them. And are there any others?
Kelp is, which is a type of seaweed, isn't it? But that's probably the most famous food source for iodine.
Yeah.
It used to, as I say, it used to be in our soils. We used to get it from vegetables, but
Right.
that's extremely unlikely now
And
due
is
to
there
the
a way of
reasons.
putting it back in? Oh, I suppose you could get seaweed and pop it on your garden.
I do that
Yeah.
sometimes. That's a great way of
Yeah.
fertilizing the soil is to use seaweed. So you could try and do it that way.
Yeah, and you can
But I
buy
still
that.
like, sorry, Melissa.
No, you can buy seaweed supplements as well, I think.
Yeah, you can kelp. The one thing I like about having we make Lugol's iodine, which is the oldest and most traditional form of iodine. The great thing about that is it comes in a bottle, so you can measure how much you're taking, and you
Yeah.
can't really do that with seaweed, unfortunately. So
Yeah.
I think I'm a supplements guy that believes in getting everything that you possibly can from food. But yeah, with iodine, I don't take any chances
Yeah, so
because
I have the bottle of iodine actually, and so I
good.
take that, and actually a few drops went into my creatine this morning, which is hopefully beneficial. Yeah.
I'd have to look into that. Yeah,
So that's a good one. So if we are taking the magnesium and the iodine, we've got a lot of bases covered,
I think so. Definitely. Yeah, definitely.
and especially for the iodine for menopause, you said. Especially.
Yes, I think. I mean, everyone needs iodine. Men, women, we all need iodine, but it becomes particularly important when women are approaching that stage of their life. As I said, mainly because of the thyroid.
Yeah. All right, well, that's good to know. So that's 2 down, or 3 actually.
3. Yeah,
3, yeah, I can't
you're
count now.
supposed to be good with numbers.
I need the creatine. Yeah. What about the next one then? What did you come up with?
What does that leave us with? That leaves us with okay, I'll do symbiotics next. So symbiotics sounds like, oh, that's an unusual word. What it means basically is it's a mix of prebiotics and probiotics in one capsule. So
Right.
the idea there is that the prebiotic acts as dinner for the probiotic. So the probiotic has its dinner in the gut and flourishes as a result. So when I first started Nutrient Nirvana, customers were asking me, when are you going to do a probiotic supplement? And I'd always been a bit wary about doing one for a number of reasons. One is because most strains of probiotic bacteria, they don't survive the harsh conditions of the stomach because of stomach acid, obviously. So the way I saw it at the time, probiotic supplements were really just a waste of money, and you could be instead eating sauerkraut, which I still advocate, obviously. Kefir, homemade yogurt is really good for the gut.
Yeah.
So you want to be eating lots of gut-friendly foods because your gut health is kind of like the springboard for everything else health-wise,
Yeah.
As Hippocrates said 2,500 years ago, all disease begins in the gut. And he was a prophet. So, yeah. Now, with the symbiotic we do, I've managed to find a strain of probiotic called Bacillus subtilis, and that has been scientifically shown to survive the stomach acid and make its way down into the intestines where it's absorbed. And, so that's gone really well, that supplement for us. I had a customer who went to Goa in India last year, and about a day into her stay, she developed what we used to call deli belly, like an upset tummy, basically. And she told me she took, I think, 3 or 4 of our symbiotics over the course of about 3 or 4 hours and was 100% afterwards, no problems. So that was like, yes.
Yeah,
So
that's
we've got
brilliant.
something that's really good and it's going to work for people.
So this particular supplement, is it associated with a particular food? Like, is it like sauerkraut and yogurt are totally different things? So, like, where would this be situated? Would it come from something that's fermented and that's in like the
Yes.
sauerkraut way?
Yeah,
Or?
so the fermentation process creates all those probiotics. That's how it works. Yeah, and it's the same with kefir and the same with yogurt. They're fermented foods.
And could you use those supplements then and re-ferment them? Like, could you pop them in your yogurt machine something, or I don't know, like to make sure that you will absorb them in your stomach? Or
Yes, that would be fine. I've never done that myself. I've never tried it, but I don't see any reason why that wouldn't work. That would be fine. Yeah.
No, because obviously it's an issue if you're not going to be able to absorb some probiotics. But the one that you have is absorbed.
Yes, definitely. It's been scientifically shown to survive the stomach acid.
Right.
So I'd be wary of lots of probiotic supplements on the market. I would say that probably 95, maybe say 90% of supplement companies out there are most interested in profit. You know, they're not really in this to help people, whereas that was my main ambition when I started Nirvana.
Yeah.
Excuse me. So yeah, they definitely work and they're very good.
So what are the main benefits of taking this one then? Like, what would you expect to see change or improve?
Well, primarily your gut health is going to improve. So
how would you know? Like, what will you notice?
I would imagine that it could help people that have bowel issues or constipation, perhaps. Magnesium is very, very good for that as well. I generally, when I started eating fermented foods many years ago, I was in the process of kind of sorting all my diet out, because when I was in my 20s and early 30s, I used to eat, you know, not very well at all.
You don't care.
Yeah, I didn't give a monkey's, no. So
only us oldies.
Sorry?
It's only us oldies.
I'm not that. I'm only 50. Anyway, yeah, fair enough. Yeah, fair point. So, yeah, I mean, we absorb a lot less nutrition when we're older, as we start to age and get past 40.
Yeah,
it's the sad truth, unfortunately. So, and I mean, that's another reason why I think people of our sort of age need to supplement, because, as we said, the food isn't what it used to be. And on top of that, as we age, we become less efficient at absorbing nutrients from food. So,
yeah,
you know.
And another thing actually that we didn't mention, but I think it's a big issue, is so many people at some point in their lives have taken antibiotics. So would this help to try and counter that? You know, that when you take antibiotics, you're kind of basically ruining your health a little bit in terms of the guts, aren't you?
It's funny you should say this, because I read a study yesterday, a new study, and it validated a lot of stuff that I'd read over the years, mainly through GAPS, which is gut and physiology syndrome, a food protocol created by Dr. Natasha Campbell-McBride, who I've interviewed on my Nutrient Nirvana channel. And now we're getting into controversial areas here, but there's now a study on it, and I can send you the study if you want, so you could link it underneath the video. But basically, this study has found that women who have been taking antibiotics during pregnancy have increased the risk of autism in their child. So gut health is obviously super important for pregnant women.
Yeah.
And all this is kind of coming out now. So, yeah, from that perspective, it's extremely important.
Yeah. I mean, every so often, like, you get an infection or something, and you're given the option of taking an antibiotic, and it's a tough choice. I mean, if it's you really bad, or if it's your child, you're probably going to take that.
Yeah,
but
so
it comes with so many complications, doesn't it?
The way I see it, Melissa, is it's a last case scenario. If I've got no other choices, then yeah, okay. But if I was taking antibiotics, I'd be taking the symbiotic that we mentioned earlier alongside that. So I'm replenishing what I'm losing. That would be the idea, and eating lots of gut-friendly foods that we've mentioned as well. So you can counteract, you know, the damage, because I mean, antibiotic is just anti-life. That's what it means. Probiotic is pro-life, you know. So it's very important to, you know, to make sure you're balancing all that if you have to take antibiotics.
Yeah, I think that's a really interesting area, because a lot of people have at some point in their lives, or they've given them to their children, taken antibiotics, and they want to be able to repair some, because it's like you're in a, you know, between a rock and a hard place sometimes. What do? You like, do you take it? Do you not take it? So you maybe assume you've taken it. Dentists, they give them out like this, you know. So you have to try and hopefully think about ways of
Well,
repairing that. And
people that, you know, are going to take an antibiotic have to do that. Have to keep their fingers crossed, because we're all different. We're all individuals. I mean, I've known people that have been permanently damaged by taking antibiotics, you know.
right, in what
So
way?
there is a significant risk factor attached to this. So,
Yeah,
you know, repeat, you know, you need to be counteracting that if you're going to take an
yeah,
antibiotic with the gut-friendly foods and things like these symbiotics.
yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I think it's look, I have tried to add some of these things to things I'm cooking, because well, my kids anyway, they're hardly going to eat sauerkraut, and even yogurt, that's a bit of a stretch. So I
Really?
try and
Oh, I
sneak
loved yogurt when I
the
was a kid. Yeah.
yeah, but yeah, but like we were different then. Like we ate stuff that we were given, but you know, these days it's different. So yeah, so I've tried to, you know, pour a bit of the like probiotic yogurt into whatever food I'm cooking, you know, and kind of like hush hush and everything. But
Crafty. I like it.
yeah,
So,
I'm hoping it helps. But obviously, you have to be careful not to overheat it. So this is where the supplements
mm.
could be really handy, because you know, then it's just like basically one capsule and
I think
you're
so,
done.
definitely. I mean, we all need magnesium, as we were saying. So I would recommend magnesium to all adults and to children.
Mm.
The general rule with children and supplements is, if your child is 2/3 of your size, you give them 2/3 of the dose of
Hmm.
your dose. That's generally how it works, and that would work that way with magnesium.
Right.
However, we also sell a magnesium spray. So with kids, magnesium spray is a really good idea. You can get the magnesium into them that way, or with the baths that we mentioned previously as well, Dead Sea salts.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, well, that's good to know. And so, what about the final? Are we on to the final supplements?
Ooh, the final one. Okay, so the final one. So one of the first things I learned about nutrition, Melissa, is that everybody needs 90 nutrients per day
Hmm.
to have optimal health.
Right.
And 60 of those 90 are minerals.
Hmm.
And so I consider fulvic minerals to be one of the most important supplements, mainly for that reason.
So that's very mysterious. Fulvic minerals. It
Well,
sounds like you've gone down to a volcano and you've got something, some
I
kind of
like to
magic
think of it
clay.
this way. So imagine you're walking somewhere far off the beaten track, you know, into an ancient forest or somewhere like that. And you were to dig down deep, you know, maybe 10, 15 feet or something like that. All the plant matter, all the insects, everything that has died in that forest is going to be there. And the mineral content is just going to be crazy. You're going to get
Mhm.
all those trace minerals that have been farmed out of the soil now, you know. You're going to get all sorts of just magical properties. And there's all sorts of stuff in fulvic, not just minerals. There's vitamins, there's amino acids, there's
Mm.
phytonutrients, plant nutrients. And fulvic minerals are incredibly good for detoxing. And we've got a new formula at the moment that's called cellular detox, that
Mhm.
actually cleans you out at the cellular level. And that has so many like ticks to it, because then your cells are going to be able to take in more nutrition. So for me, fulvic is a no-brainer. It's everyone should be taking it.
What exactly is it? So it's you talked about the forest floor. I mean, is it from, is it like gathered from nature, or is it like, how is it made?
Oh,
Where,
it's a natural product. It's completely natural. I
yeah.
think ours comes from Salt Lake City. It's
Ah.
like a volcano, yeah. But basically, those trace minerals, what we used to get when we used to eat vegetables, you know, and certain
Yeah.
grains
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
things, they're all in this bottle. Okay, so we've got two formulas. One that is the one I mentioned, cellular detox. We also do a gut health one, which is
Right.
really good for strengthening the lining of your gut.
Yeah.
And leaky gut syndrome is just, it's everywhere at the moment. So many people are suffering with that. It's crazy. So we've got two different formulas of fulvic, but for me, it's just it's something that I've done now myself every day for about 15 years, and I wouldn't be. Look, I'm drinking it now.
Oh, so that's how you take it. So you basically dissolve it in some
Seven-
water.
7 drops in clean water. Don't use tap water, people. Clean water, and yeah, and you just drink it. It doesn't really have any taste as such, and it's just great. And I know that it ticks so many boxes.
I thought you were drinking beer.
No, that's John Hart. That's my history CV partner. He's always on the
I
beer.
think you're having a pint.
Maybe I should have said it was beer. Yeah, made myself look a bit more ready.
That would be a great one for the, the one who's not drinking alcohol around the pub. You could have a bottle of it down. Nice sunny brown.
I'd never thought of that before. I don't drink very often, so maybe I'll try doing that and I'll tell John I'm on the ale, John.
Oh, John, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I wouldn't have got away with that in Gwynedd when we were in Gwynedd last year. That was
was that a heavy session?
Quite, yeah, fairly. I'm not really used to it anymore. So, yeah.
So those Fulvic formulas. So like it's basically like you dissolve them in water. Are they both like that? You do like you put them in a glass?
Yeah, they
of water,
both work exactly the same way. 7 drops is the recommended daily intake.
Right.
So 7 drops in clean water. The 2 formulas. Now I'm not a scientist, but I work with a guy that is. But basically, one. They both have fulvic and humic acid in them, but one formula has way less fulvic acid, I think, and more humic acid, which makes it more beneficial for, a certain...
Humic, does that mean the soil?
Yes.
And so that's basically... That just makes you kind of think you have to go roll around in a muddy field,
Well, hence my, my analogy earlier on about, being in an ancient forest and digging down and getting the minerals out. That's basically what fulvic minerals are.
The drops were. So like basically, which one would be recommended for who? Like if you were kind of like trying to find one that was best suited for you, more volcano, less soil.
Well, I would guess really. What do you think, or what do you want to achieve, or what particular ailment do you want to treat? I suppose so. If you think you really need to detox heavy metals, we're all carrying far too many heavy metals for.
How do you get rid of that though? You can't. Can you?
Sorry?
You can't get rid of that. Like you can't.
It's very difficult. I mean, if you look at personal care products now, as an example, it's been estimated there are around 80,000 ingredients in personal care products that the body doesn't know what to do with. It's just never come across them before. Yeah. So what it does is it stores them in our fat cells. And I believe that's one of the reasons why obesity is on the increase. It's not just because of poor diet. It's because we're taking in all these toxins from various sources. Yeah. And the body, as I say, as clever as it is, these are all new things to the body. We've been around for hundreds of thousands of years, but these chemicals, in our food chain or in personal care products, that is relatively new to the body. Yeah. So the body stores them in fat cells.
Yeah, I think that's really worrying, isn't it? Like, all these sprays and lotions, and it's basically mostly the girls, isn't it? The women, a little bit the boys. I know, and obviously there's deodorant. Deodorant's not great, but you're not gonna, like, I don't know about you, Paul, but are you gonna be like putting on loads of lotions and potions, or is it more of a girl thing? So I think I just feel sorry for. Yeah, like basically anyone who feels under pressure to use all these products, and then it's really damaging their health, And
I think we're all affected, men and women. But women, perhaps you're right. Perhaps most personal care products are aimed at women, I guess. Yeah, I mean, shampoo's a really good example as well, because we're scrubbing that shampoo into our scalps, and the brain is there, obviously. So for me, shampoo, I try and avoid using shampoos now and conditioners. Yeah. I just use clean water and a bit of apple cider vinegar, and I still look. You can see I still look incredibly glamorous. So don't laugh.
So I've tried using natural soap, and my hair comes out like yours is now. It's like this. So I'm not sure. I've gone back to shampoo.
Well, you can buy organic shampoos, you know, that aren't as bad, paraben free, etc. You know, all that kind of stuff. There's shampoo, and then there's like shampoo.
Yeah,
So
no, yeah, you're right. You
yeah,
can be a little bit careful. But like
so
once you
much
have these
limitation.
chemicals in your system, like, you know, what can you do to maybe get rid of some? Is there anything you can do? Are they
Yeah,
forever
there's
chemicals?
plenty of things you can do. There are things like methylene blue now that's very popular. I've mentioned fulvic minerals.
Mm,
Iodine gets rid of a lot of stuff in the body.
right.
Yeah,
That's
it's
brilliant.
antibacterial, antifungal. So iodine works for a lot of things like that. We can detox, you know.
Mm,
It is possible to get all
yeah.
this crap out of us. But you will need to buy some Fulvic or some methylene blue or
Mm,
whatever it is you want to try.
yeah.
Another good thing is organic sulfur as well. Sulfur is great
Sulfur.
for removing heavy metals. Really powerful stuff. So
Okay.
yeah, you know, we need to, you know, obviously be nutritionally replete, but we do unfortunately now need to work at detoxing ourselves
Hmm.
on a daily basis because of the bombardment of all the chemicals and metals and all the other nasties that we've been talking about.
Yeah, yeah. So you just reminded me there with the sulfur. I think garlic has it, some kind of
Yes, it
sulfur
does.
in garlic. But
Yes, onions.
garlic, doesn't garlic also absorb like some kind of heavy metal or something? Isn't it like a double-edged sword or something? Somebody told me that, and then I was like, oh, I don't know what to do anymore. Now it's too
You see health doctors that go on and on about garlic and say it's the best thing you could possibly take, and then you'll see other health doctors that say the complete opposite. And
yeah.
that's the problem I find with nutrition and natural health is that there are so many conflicting
Mm,
opinions out there, and I think it's probably by design as well. So it's very difficult for somebody that's new to all this information
mm-hmm.
to be able to discern for themselves what's going to help me and what's bad. I
Yes.
try, so for that reason, I try and keep everything as simple as possible,
Mm-hmm.
which is why you know, I promote and sell things like Fulvic because they tick so many boxes. They're just trace minerals, vitamins, amino acids, etc. Everyone knows, well, pretty much everyone knows that magnesium is hugely important for human health. And you only have to look and read stuff by the National Academy of Sciences to know that magnesium and other minerals are decreasing quite rapidly in our soils now. So I try and focus on the essentials. We offer other things that can help people that have certain ailments, perhaps,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and that we sell herbs as well, organic herbs. Adaptogenic herbs are really good for people that are perhaps experiencing fatigue,
Mm,
energy issues, things like that.
yeah.
So nature always has the answer, always.
So it's both preventative and curative. So if you have
Yes,
something, you can think about taking something to help, and and then obviously alongside maybe some proper medication from a doctor. That's fine as well. But to kind of think in terms of maybe rather than just going down the conventional medical route, maybe thinking about supplements as well. Like, is there something that can help me, that can help me long term?
I would say so. There are some
Yeah,
people out there that will say that anything synthetic is bad for you and that
yeah.
all pharmaceuticals are bad for you.
Mm,
Now, I don't prescribe to that idea. However, I think from what I've seen, and I'm not a scientist, it's just my opinion, is that most pharmaceuticals are symptom management drugs, if you like. They manage your symptoms. They do not treat the root
yeah,
cause of the
yeah.
problem, which is almost always either nutritional deficiency or toxicity.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of those two things. You know, we can only die one of three ways. Those two things I just mentioned, or physical accident.
Right.
You know, there is no fourth way.
That makes you think, doesn't it?
It does. I can see you thinking there. Yeah. But if you think about it, you know, people will say, what about stress or, you know, emotional, blah, blah, blah. Well, that's toxicity. That's toxicity. That's emotional toxicity. Things like trauma and things like that, which have
Yeah.
profound effects, negative effects on the body and the brain.
Mm,
But yeah, so as I say, I'm focusing on nutritional deficiency and toxicity. If we can address those two things, we'll be in a much healthier state collectively.
Yeah, it's good to know that although things aren't in a great way in many ways in terms of food production, that there are things we can do, and actually, as you say, they're not actually complicated. There are a couple of bits and pieces that we can add to our daily routines. Maybe if there's some kind of issue, we can think about something in particular to help that. But there are things that we can be taking on a daily basis or weekly basis, and we should be able to see signs. Another thing I struggle with just in terms of supplements is knowing the dosage. Like I just always improvise. And then of course I skip a few days because I forget. So is that okay?
Well, probably not. No. That's a difficult one. I mean, when we're talking about doses, I have to be careful because I'm not a doctor.
Yeah, no, you're right. And I'm not asking you to prescribe anything. It's not asking you about doses, but yeah, no, it's just more that I think you can be a bit lackadaisical about these things, and you can take them one day and then forget another day. And
yeah, if in doubt, err on the side of caution, I think is probably the right.
Obviously, the creatine is a really good solution for that because it's going to improve our short-term memory. So
yes,
I'm really looking forward to having a really good short-term memory. Then I'll remember. Virtuous circle. Once I have one out of the others.
You'll have to let me know how you're getting on with it after a couple of weeks, yeah?
Yeah. Well, the funny thing was then I thought when I'm taking creatine, I thought I may as well start weightlifting. So
blimey.
I did like, not very much. I wasn't able for much, but
Melissa Schwarzenegger. Okay.
You never know. Yeah, unlikely. But yeah, it's great to know that there are things that you can do anyway. So just to recap,
yep,
the 5 top supplements that you would recommend for most people are
magnesium, the master mineral, fulvic minerals because it ticks so many boxes. You're getting 60 of your 90 a day. Symbiotics because gut health is profoundly important. Iodine, especially for ladies, because it's so important for the thyroid, and there's an epidemic of thyroid issues at the moment. That's probably the main reason why. And creatine, just because it was something a bit different, something that I've started taking myself, and I'm very impressed with.
Yeah, that's great to know. Brilliant. Cool. Well, thanks. That's really, really fantastic. So the place to get them if we're buying from you, Paul, is Nirvana.
.co.
Do you have any links or details for that?
Yeah, just www.nutrientnirvana.co.uk. And go to the shop section, and we've got lots of goodies on there.
And you started a YouTube channel?
How many have I got now? I'm going back. Actually, I'm glad you mentioned that because next Wednesday I'm doing a new stream on my old channel, which is called Nutrient Nirvana, and I'll be joined by Emma Goodwin, who is a GAPS coach, and I've mentioned GAPS a couple of times on our videos together. Yep. She's incredible what she does. She used to be a professional actress. And she's incredibly eloquent, far more eloquent than me, which isn't difficult. And she is just a wealth of knowledge in all things health. So I'm really looking forward to that. I've known her for a couple of years now, and she's a really nice person. And she's, I have to be careful what I say again, but she's really helped a lot of people reverse certain conditions using food as the medicine.
That's really interesting. Well, I got a chance to listen to her speak on the Amish Inquisition podcast, with Phil,
brilliant. Yes.
I thought that she was really interesting. I learned a lot.
Yeah, she's very good. I think she was very tired on that particular occasion because she goes to bed very early usually, and that was a late night for her. But she was still fantastic, and her information was is always very profound.
Yeah, it's really good to learn about these things because, as you said, there's so much conflicting information. Especially on YouTube, everyone has a view, and then kind of 1 minute you're hearing about the benefits of one thing, and then the next it's some complete opposites. So it's very hard to know.
I completely agree. It's a very frustrating situation. Sorry?
A bit of common sense.
Common sense, discernment, do your own research. I would love to say consult with your doctor. We're supposed to say that, but they're not trained in nutrition.
Yeah.
They don't do any training in nutrition. When they're training to be a doctor, they spend half a day on nutrition out of 5 years of training. So, I mean, we all should be consulting with our doctors, obviously, but do bear that in mind. Yeah, so.
Yeah, no, obviously. But this is just mostly preventative and also sometimes curative, right? So it's not about like either or. It's about working and trying to make your own decisions and be informed. And to be able to access the things that you want to use as well. So it's not always easy to find these things. Like I remember trying to find a particular supplement last year that I'd read about, and I wanted to try, actually not so much for myself, it was for my son, and it's really hard to find it, you know. So it's great to know that there are a couple of places you can go, then you can find what you need. You know, it just makes things a little bit easier. So that's good.
I think most of what people need, or most of the supplements that actually really work for people, you'll find on my website.
Okay, that's good to know. All right. Well, listen, thanks again, Paul. Thanks for your time.
Pleasure.
And yeah, I really, I think it's amazing to have all this information and to be able to talk about this and think about like different scenarios, different profiles, different kinds of age groups and everything. And actually what's really interesting is with all these supplements, what you're saying is it's across the board. Actually, it'll benefit any age, any group.
Definitely the first four: magnesium, fulvic, iodine, symbiotics. Definitely the first four. And then I would say creatine if you're looking to build muscle or repair muscle, or if you're you want to improve your short-term memory, and use something as a preventative for neurological disorders as you're getting older. There's lots of scientific information out there on that. So yeah, creatine is also, I'm very impressed by it.
Yeah, okay, well, watch this space. I'll let you know in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, look forward to it.
All right. Listen, thanks you so much, Paul, and it's great to talk to you.
Always a pleasure. Thank you, Melissa.
Thank you.